Hi boys and girls, we're actually going to be moving on to a new unit, and this is Unit 10. We're going to be going over measurements. Our previous unit was geometry. I know that some of you guys may have not even started the geometry unit. Some of you guys might have started it but didn't finish, and some of you guys might have finished. It's okay, it doesn't matter where you're at in that unit. I would like to move on to Unit 10 just because this unit is more important, and I want to make sure that you guys are exposed to this before you guys move on to the 4th grade. So please open up your math books to page 33, and in page 33, this is in your big student journal books, the ones that you work on at my center. In those books, I would like you guys to follow along with me. So whatever I'm writing, you're writing, just like we would in class. This will help you finish up all of the problems that you need to finish up, and you won't fall behind. So we're going to be working on lesson 1, which is the concept of area. An area is something that we haven't discussed in class, so this is all new. I'm going to be teaching you guys what area is and some of the words that you need to be familiar with. So if we look at our little vocabulary box down here, we will see that there's a couple of words that we need to be familiar with. The first word that we need to know is square unit. Square unit is what we use to name these little tiny squares right here. So you'll see these little tiny squares inside of bigger shapes, and those are called square units. So square units is what helps us actually calculate the area of shapes. So area, which is here, area is the measurement of the surface of a closed plane shape. So when it's talking about that, it just means that when we see a shape drawn on a grid like this, like here, for example, we have a rectangle that has all of these little tiny squares inside. In order to calculate the area, all we need to do is just count these little tiny squares. So here, we can see that this rectangle has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. 12 square units. So that means that this rectangle has an area of 12 square units. That's it. So all we're talking about is counting the little square units inside of the shapes that want us to calculate the area. So turning the page, you'll see this grid to graph. We're not going to use that, so we can just skip it. Then you'll come across this page. That page is meant for you to cut out. It's going to take a long time for you guys to cut out, and those little half-inch squares are really, really tiny. So don't worry about cutting them out. If you really want to cut them out, you can. And just pause the video and cut them out, and then come back and you can follow along with me. But they're so tiny that I wouldn't really bother cutting them out. It's going to take you guys a while. So go ahead and pause if you want to. If not, let's move on. Okay, so if you had a chance to cut out your little squares, you would have all of these little cut out gray squares ready to move around and place on top of the rectangle on this page. If you didn't, that's fine. Don't worry about it. You can just watch the video to see what it is that I wanted you to do with those squares. So each of these little tiles, what we're going to do is we're going to move them over to the rectangle to determine or to find the area of the rectangle. So remember, the area is the number of square units inside of a flat shape. Okay, so here we can first estimate the area, get an estimation of it, which means just guess how many of these little squares are going to fit in there. So if I was, thinking about how many would fit, I would say, I think that we can probably get, let's say, maybe 10 of them. So I'm going to make an estimation that the area of this rectangle is 10 square units. So now let's actually calculate the area. So I'm going to place them on top, 1, 2, until I fill up the entire rectangle. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12. So the rectangle has an area of not 10, but 12 square units. So I would write 12 square units. Easy. Okay, we're going to move on to the next problem. This next problem is going to be calculating the area of the rectangle using the little half-inch tiles. So these are probably harder if you did actually cut them out. They're probably really hard to manipulate because they're so tiny. But we're going to do the same thing. Estimation of the area. Wow, so these are really tiny. So I know it has to be greater than 12 because the other problem had 12. So I'm going to say maybe like 50. So my estimation for here is not going to be 10. It's going to be 50 because they're smaller, so it has to be more squares. So to save some time, I'm going to pull these up in rows. So here, whoops, moving my answer around. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Let's move those. Keep moving my answer. 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30. Oops, left one behind. 31, 32, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38, 39, 40, 41, 42. Oh, there's still more that fit. 43, 44, 45, 46, 47, 48. Ooh, I was close. So approximately 48 squares fit on there. So that would mean that the area of this rectangle is 48 square units. That's it. That's all you have to do to calculate the area. So you can pause this video and try on your own. If you did cut them out, you can try the next page and see if you are correct and compare it to my answer. If you don't have them cut out, you can keep watching and we can do it together. So here, I'm going to estimate the area. So I know that this is a smaller square, or rectangle, sorry, smaller rectangle than the previous one. So it has to be less. So I'm thinking maybe 4 can fit on here. 4 square units. Let's see if I am correct, or at least close. So I'm going to drag these up. 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, I was correct. So the area of this rectangle is 4 square units. Okay, moving on to the next page. Now I'm going to use the same exact rectangle, and I'm going to use the smaller tiles to calculate the area of this rectangle. So if the other rectangle had an area of 4 with the 1-inch tiles, and now we're using these tiny little half-inch tiles, that means that my estimation here has to be greater than 4. So I can't use 4, I have to be something greater because these little tiles are way smaller than the other ones. So I'm going to try 17. 17 square units. That's going to be my guess. So now I'm going to try it. So I'm going to bring up a couple at a time to save time. Oh, look at that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Let's move these up. 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. Oh, look at that. 16 square units. So the area of this rectangle, using the small little squares, is 16 square units. So it was very close to my estimation that I had. So that's the end of this lesson. So just to recap what we learned how to calculate the area of rectangles using square units that we cut out. So we now know that in order to find the area of a shape, all we're really doing is counting each of these little square units that are inside of the shape that we are using to calculate the area. Okay, so go ahead and make sure that all of this is in your math book. If you need to pause the video at any point, don't forget you can do that so that you can write the answers down in your math book. Okay, I'll see you guys soon.